Good day, Africa, and welcome to another episode of Diaspora Connect. On this show, we speak to Africans in the diaspora who are contributing in various ways to lift the image of Africa. They're projecting the values of Africa out there, and people who are contributing immensely towards the development of the home country, Africa. And on today's show, we'll be talking about preserving the African heritage. And on today's show, we are speaking to an incredible African who is doing a lot to preserve the heritage of Africa, our culture, through books and poetry and a lot of activities out there in the diaspora. And he's in the person of Dr. Marcelin Dabo. We will go for a quick break, and when we come back, I will introduce my guest, and then we will go straight into the discussion. Stay with us. On today's show, we are speaking with Dr. Marcelin Dabo, who has authored a lot of books on African heritage and also doing a lot towards preserving Africa's unique culture. Dr. Dabo, welcome to Diaspora Connect.
Thank you very much, Ankoma, for this welcoming and beautiful message.
Okay.
I want to thank also Madame Esuma Massam for the invitation.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So on today's show, we are talking about preserving Africa's heritage. And we couldn't have chosen any better guest than you, considering your enormous support and all the things that you are doing to preserve the culture of Africa, even in the diaspora. So before we start, kindly tell us a bit about yourself.
As you mentioned, Dr. Marcelin Dabo, I did my PhD on control systems, also engineering studies, and today I am working on mechatronics in automobile industry. And what we are going to talk about today is the other part of my activities in art, that is writing activity books for young and children. So I am an African from Ziguinchor in the region of Casamance, between Gambia, Senegal, and Bissau Guinea. So I am a dynamic person, joyful, and I like sharing my culture and also sharing a small part of knowledge that I could get throughout this journey until now.
Okay, perfect. That is an incredible background. So let's go into this. But then also, we would also want to know, you are an African and you are in the diaspora. Can you share with us maybe your the topmost culture shock that you had the first time you stepped foot in France?
I have been in France since 2002. And then the first thing was there are so many cultural shocks. For example, eating frog. I grew in Senegal, West Africa. And when I heard that people here eat frog, I was very shocked. And finally, they took me to the restaurants, and what they eat is the rear legs of the frog. And finally, I have tasted it. It was very, very good, very tasty. There is a second one. Please let me give it to you. Is that you know, when you are invited, for example, somewhere in France, they can propose you cheese at the end of the meal. And then what happened is that there is a kind of cheese that is very, very, very smelly. It smells too much, you see. And when I was in Africa, I didn't think that this kind of meals can be part of eating of French people, for example, because of the ideas, because of many, you know, these kind of presentations that they do about their country, etc. And the critics also that is going outside to the other people in opposite. So I didn't know, and that was also a part of real cultural shock.
Okay, so this is interesting, and I think it sets the stage for our discussion today. You mentioned one of the first you mentioned was that they chew frog, which we don't do or you did not do in your home country. So that is food, and when you talk about culture, the one thing that is unique about people, you can also talk about their food, and you know you've described a food shock when you went to France. And this is really key. And that brings out the question. And just in your submission, you mentioned that you tasted the frog for the first time and you were shocked that they eat frog here. And later, you became accustomed to the food, to the frog, and you were now comfortable with it. So now in Africa, we do have similar culture in our home country, which people think this is kind of over time, people are not adapting to some of this culture. We are not practicing some of these things. So it's important here to say, is it our own doing that our own culture is eroding?
In fact, this is a question of confidence, the relationship of confidence. And what brings confidence is when you are doing something and you have an internal conviction that that thing you are doing is very good. And then you can see the results. You can see it is not only on talking, but it is also on the facts, you see. And that is something really important. So I remember an interview that I had these last weeks. And a lady asked me, how can you do to preserve your culture? I just said to her, live your culture like you are breathing, you see, because if you breathe, it's part of your life, you know, it's a daily life. And then you even don't care about that, and you even don't think of what you are doing. You see, you just breathe and you continue what you are doing. So that is a way to live your culture. Example, as I am doing an interview with you, what I wear here is from Africa. It is realized in Africa. It is fabricated in Africa. And as, by the way, you can see some symbols, Adinkra, that are here on this, what I wear. So when I have to go in my office to do my job, I wear this. And I go to do, when I am at home, like presently, I do. When I am outside, I do. It is just a way for me to live. So confidence, as you are living, as you are doing your things, might it be in kitchen, might it be in how you talk to children, might it be in what you wear, might it be in your communication, you see, using your own African language like Swahili, for African Union, for example. That is the real way to keep your culture ongoing and prevent it from eroding.
Okay, that is perfect. So one key thing I'm picking up from this conversation is you presenting your culture with confidence, because it looks like most of the time, I like also the fact that you are an African and you went into, you relocated to France in the diaspora right now, and you still present your culture with confidence in terms of language, in terms of what you wear and everything. So I think these are some of the ways that we can even present our culture whilst we are in the West, because I think one of the criticisms we've had as Africans, and which of course you may comment on that, is the fact that once we leave our home country and we go to the West, first of all, it presents a huge opportunity to even present our culture, market our culture out there. But then most of the time we get there and we put our culture aside and we pick the culture of the West. And I think with time, it then takes away our own culture. What is your comment on this?
In fact, as a real product of that experience is the way that our culture has been presented to us from our country, inside our families, our communities, our nation, in our television, and our daily life inside our country, and in opposite or in parallel, if you want, with foreign culture, like, for example, the case of French culture or any other external culture. And you can see, it is not to close it inside France, but just to see that the relationship between illegal occupation or illegal occupants of Africa to a certain period to the inhabitants or the endogenous people, okay? Because there is a job that has been done to alienate people through generation, to reject their own culture. For example, when I was at school, when I was a children, between let's say 81 to 89, 90, 1980 to 1990. At that period, what happened is that when we were in school, when somebody was talking his own mother tongue, there was a kind of symbol. They took it and put it like a necklace with a crane of an animal to put shame on you because you are expressing yourself in your own mother tongue. When you wear an African dress during a great moment of celebration, people will not consider you. They will not give you respect because of that job that have been done by the illegal occupants of African land.
Okay.
And then following generation after generation, that brings a very deep injury inside different people, such that for my own, before I get to that point, people think that, for example, when they leave Gambia, they should go to England. They cannot go somewhere else, but they should go to England. When they leave, for example, Bissau Guinea, they should go nowhere else but only Portugal. And then that is a question of mental boxes, okay, and mental and psychological frontiers. And then going from that point, if you check also the question of language, we continue to define ourselves like XX phones. So nobody is a telephone between us. Nobody is a magnetophone or no. We are all human and we have our languages. So we should be careful of the mindset to be changed. My shock, that is also a cultural shock, going from myself to the other relation, to the people from France. When I get my diploma as an engineer, my qualification degree in 2006, as an engineer on control systems, we have been invited to celebrate with the other colleagues. And I remember I had the choice on my bed. I had one suit with a tie, And I had a traditional wearing that I prepared also. It took me 30 minutes to decide because I was accusing myself. I was accusing myself. And for a man of around 30 years, just to wear something to go to celebrate. So it is to tell you that the way that our culture is taught is a real impact on our psychology. This is why there is a urgent healing for many people. And there is also another shock that I want to share with you, is that I always thought that when a book is written by a name like, let's say, McDonald's, that book is better than a book written by a name like Dabo, for example.
Or Chinua Achebe.
All these, sorry?
Or Chinua Achebe.
Or Chinua Achebe, or Kwame Nkrumah, or Nyerere, you see, Mwalimu. So it's important for us to have reconciliation of ourselves, to have the courage to do what Adinkra people call Sankofa. Go to the past, take what you have produced, transform and come back to you, and to build a future in a better way.
Okay, so in your submission, I picked two key themes. You mentioned the fact that now it's like we have been kept in a sort of mental boxes, and also in most times, because of how we have been kept in these mental boxes for so long, in our decisions we are normally, conflicted, whether we should go for this or go for that. And in most cases, because of these mental boxes that we find ourselves in, we find out choosing the Western culture over our local culture. And this is sort of a generational shift that has been done or imbibed in us over time through our educational system, our home living, and everything. So to solve this, we need to kind of re-engineer, starting from probably the younger generation that are upcoming. And that brings me to your current work, or that is, if I can say, your other work in terms of writing books. And I understand, and I know you've authored a book called Adinkra, which not mostly talk about some of these things. So if you don't mind, you share with us what your book is about, Adinkra, and how it helps to kind of bring back or throw more light on Africa's heritage.
Okay, so going from that point that I had as a cultural shock to choose what I should wear to go for the celebration of my exam. And just a comment for that, today I see quite in all African continent, people wearing like kind of hat that they put with a horizontal plane. Maybe it is a surface or I don't know. And but that I understand that comes from perhaps Western, or I really don't know. I don't make research about it. And it continues to be a kind of generalization in many schools inside Kemet. Kemet is the name of Africa, or Kachopa. And what I want to say about that is that it's important, that is part also of valuing your culture. It is not because you wear some things that is like at a given university called of ranking 1 in the world. That is why what you are doing is right. It is not because you put a suit or tie or things like that justifies the fact that you are excellence. False. It is not because you are speaking a given language that is an African foreign language like we are using now that is guaranteeing your excellency. False. False. what I want to say about what brings me to writing books, it is on that period that I have started to ask myself that who am I? What my culture has done inside my life? What is good inside Africa? What is positive inside Africa? And when I start doing my research, I did research for African inventors, Africans in science, African in literature, etc. I checked around through Google until the day that I find African writing systems. And then from there, when I saw the different writing systems like Medunecher. Medunecher is how African people call hieroglyphics. That is a given name by Greeks. And finally, I saw a paper of Professor Teofilo Benga from Central Africa, Congo. And he did a kind of graph where he explains that what is the origin of the different writing systems in the world. And then all writing systems that you have currently in the world until to Greek, Latin, French, English, European languages, etc., all of them are heritage from African writing systems that is called Medunecher, the hieroglyphics, minus 3,500 before Christ. Somebody can say Mesopotamians, etc. It is less. It is around minus 3,200. And then when I go through that all things, I have did my research, I have checked, and for the hieroglyphics, I say, okay, I will explore them later. But what I found very beautiful in Adinkra is that every symbol communicates a wisdom. And I saw the pictures inside Adinkra, the way they are represented. And so this is why I went through with a book, not a very technical, it is book of activity. And I have published like an auto-publisher this is only in French, L'écriture philosophique Adinkra du peuple Akan. So I greet all Adinka people who are living in Ghana, Ankoma. Perhaps you are one of them.
Yes.
And this is Adinkra Hene. Okay, that is greatness, charisma, and leadership. And the book is presented like this. And you can see activities. Why? Because I ask myself, when I was a child, if I had books like this, I would not be struggling to understand my own culture because these are simplified. And when I had to go through the Adinkra process to understand, this is work for universities, for presentation of technical, very deep strategy of presentation that to take you in deep details. But I didn't want that, and I have done a book like this one and a second one that is published in 4 languages, 3, Wolof, English and French. And then inside the same book, you have always, this is Sankofa, that I was talking about sooner. And they go from the past, these 2 ladies, and they build the future.
Okay.
So the way, the idea is to share with people. The same way that when somebody comes inside Ghana, he likes jollof rice. You present him jollof rice. When somebody has a restaurant inside Paris or London or Bujumbura in Rwanda or Lesotho, if you are from Ghana, you have your restaurant, you present jollof rice between others. So it is the same thing for the Adinkra. I just want to share and present. That's my way to contribute. That's my way also to tell a story. Because as I was saying at the beginning, I take things like I am breathing, and I don't consider myself that I am bothering somebody else. Because there is some things that I want to point out also. Some people who are, I don't want to point and judge people, but when they occupy a certain function, it looks like it is forbidden for them to wear their African dresses, to wear them and then to come with them in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you rejecting your mom? Because your mom is love for you. Are you rejecting your father? And by the same way, during the same event, they don't wear African dresses, but they are going to eat. If they want to eat, they will eat chebujen, or they will eat very good caldo from Casamance. And they drink very nice juice from Africa by the same way. When they are dancing, they dance African music. Why they don't put in the same to be coherent and logic? Why they don't put always the same music like the suits that they wear? So this is a question for them. And the language also. Language is not just to cite, and after when you finish cite your references, you put it in your office and you close the door, you run away from your office. No, no. Language is to be practiced. This is why I am calling again for AAU to use Swahili. I am calling again for African Union to use Swahili. And this is not, you don't have to wait for a decree coming from the sky or from the sun. Go through practice. When you are organizing events, practice, and we see. Now we want to see our generation, as you were saying sooner, we want to see. And if I have to answer about generation, children are the best, because every pedagogical people competent in this world, might it be in university or not? Because as somebody was saying, university is very small to keep all the knowledge of the world. So there are some pedagogical people that are outside of the universities that are doing much better than inside universities. By their creativity, by their contribution, etc. And they are sustaining, helping, and doing excellent stuffs inside their communities. So what I want to say about in that way is those people who are competent, they understand that to bring a knowledge to a certain level, you give it to children. If you don't include children in the process of you are doing, you are losing. This is why when you look at soccer, they include children. When you look at every sport, even in the schools, people include children. But if you want to talk about the African Free Trade Area, the African Union, the other things, the Africa we want, where are children? Where are teenagers? Are you keeping on just doing conference and then when you stop, it is finished? That's a question also. So let's be practical. And I have published, and I will stop here, I have published eight papers during my PhD. And then after that, I noticed that I didn't have practical for that papers. So I understood that it cannot be like that. You should go and practice.
Okay, I think this is quite a call to all of us in Africa, Association of African Universities, African Universities, African Union. We will go for a quick break, and when we come, we'll continue with our discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Diaspora Connect on AAU TV. Today we are speaking with Dr. Marcelin Dabo on preserving African heritage, and I think we've had interesting discussions on what we are doing wrong and what we ought to do to restore our heritage. Dr. Dabo, before we left off, we were talking about a key message that you are giving to African Union and organizations like African Association of African Universities, and calling on all stakeholders to ensure that we preserve our culture. So as we get to the end of our discussion, I would like to also ask this quick question on our culture. What do you think, from your observation, what are some of the culture that we had in Africa that you hold so dear to your heart, that you've seen that over time is fading away and you want it to come back?
I want to see our architecture, but I know an architect from Africa who is doing an amazing job based on the sapientogram of Sankofa. Okay. Sapientogramma is a new word that I have introduced by the help of my sister, that is Latin Greek professor in Dakar, West Africa. And because sapientia means wisdom and gramma means character. Like if you say alphabetical, syllabical, ideogrammatical, and pictogrammatical writing systems. These are the 4 writing systems that have been registered in the world till now. And I propose a 5th one, that is the sapientogramma, meaning every character is linked to wisdom, like Adinkra. Okay. And for this thing, I am a bit lost, sorry, but say again the question.
So right now we are looking at some of our culture that over time we've lost. And as you, what are some of these culture that you want us to bring back that over time we've lost?
I was talking about architecture. Yeah. I want to see again African cities with beautiful African architecture in the philosophy of Sankofa, the sapientogram of Sankofa, meaning going to the past, take the good things. Because exploring your culture, it's only like when you are looking for gold. Gold Coast, Ghana. You are looking for gold. You go, you mine. When you mine, you remove, and after you filter. And you take what is good and you remove waste. That is what we have to do with our culture, kind of archaeology. And then I want to see, as I was saying, architecture, music, the way we eat, the way we sat with our sisters, our mothers, the way we talked around the things, the vision, the time to share, the way we do work, etc., how we celebrate life, in fact, in one word. And that is like life celebration. This is why, for those of you who know some singers in Africa, I don't want to give their names, but those singers who do their clips, video clips, showing traditional Africa, I love that clips. I love to go back and see them again because it reminds me my childhood. It reminds me the places where I have grown. And that is, for me, it's amazing. It's wonderful. Let me just talk about KDK music of Chidima. It's amazing clip. It's wonderful. So this is what I wanted to see. In fact, just celebrating life with the ways that we have always been doing it, under justice, good law, and social equilibrium. This is my core.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Marcelin, for this insightful discussion. And I think you kept mentioning Sankofa, and to our viewers, what this means is, it's a symbol of a bird, with the head twisted backwards. So what that means is you can go back. And if I will add to Sankofa, in our local language, there's something they call Sankofa Yenchi. We don't, it's not a crime to go back and pick what you think is necessary, but you left behind. So like Dr. Dabo has mentioned, it's time for Africa to go back and pick some of these culture and some of these great things that we had that defined us as Africans, and bring it back to the future and shape it and then present it to the world. Thank you once again, Dr. Marcelin, for your presentation. Before you go, what is your final words? And your books, how do we get copies of your books, and how is it distributed?
Thank you very much. My books, you can get copy on being in touch directly with me at adinkradabo@gmail.com. You can find them if you are in Paris. You always be in touch with me, or everywhere in the world. Please be in touch with me. For that, if you are in Paris, you can go through Tameri Sematawi Library in the 13th place of Paris, and also with other people that I can put you in touch in if you need them. And this book is really, really useful to help even adults, young people, children, and to know better their own culture. So please contact me, don't hesitate.
Okay.
So my final word of this interview is first to thank you very much again for the invitation, for this opportunity of communication, of sharing. Mm-hmm. And I want to emphasize on another Adinkra, that is Dwenimen. Mm-hmm. Meaning that independence comes with responsibilities. Mm-hmm. So if you are really independent, it's like you are an adult. You can wear yourself, you can defend yourself, you can cook for yourself, you can take your own bath, you can grow your own children. Nobody will come from another outside family to tell you how you have, at what time you have to go to bed, at what time you have to eat, you have to do your homework, to clean your house, etc. To sit down and tell good stories with your children inside your own house. Nobody will come. And if you accept that, it is because you are not independent. So going from that point, you make a generalization for a nation. You generalize this axioma for an entire country and an entire continent. That doesn't mean that you don't need to ask for help if needed. But for the minimum, you should be countable. And it is only by that way that you will earn respect and admiration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marcelin Dabo, for this insightful message delivered to the whole of Africa. Viewers, this is Diaspora Connect, and I was your host for today's show. Schneider Kokuankuma is my name. Thank you for watching.